The Bitcoin bounce is well underway, as we spoke about from yesterday's video, was likely. However, in this video, we're going to be going over the very specific number that if Bitcoin does fail to meet on this current bounce, that it would indicate that Bitcoin is, just experiencing that, a bounce, not a reversal, and likely getting ready for lower overall. So I suppose we can just get right into this one. I do want to say that right at the beginning, this is a bullish hopium video is what it is. I like to use it. We can kind of explore essentially something that is against my bias. And in this case, this would be against my bias as this current bounce turning into reversal rather than, again, just that, a bounce. Anyways, let's go into the actual charts right here. Let's start off with something that I actually just posted on Twitter, which is the magical lines of destiny. Now, I haven't really seen anyone post this just yet. Not my favorite line drawers haven't done this just yet, but we can see that there actually technically is a descending broadening wedge forming right here, which typically does have a bullish resolution. Now, bullish resolution wouldn't necessarily be confirmed until Bitcoin's, back above the upper boundary, which is at current rate above $70,000. But that would be sort of the more long-term look that, hey, look, Bitcoin just came back down, tested this trend line, it's going to bounce off this, and all is going to be well and good as Bitcoin reverses from here into this next week. Now, with that said, there are a few things that actually do suggest that, one, this bounce is not over just yet, and two, I suppose it always could turn into reversal. So first things first, besides that trend line, we also do see that daily bullish divergence on the RSI is starting to form here. We are starting to see higher lows on the RSI alongside lower lows on price action. It is not confirmed as of just yet, but it is baking in the background. So it will, it will hold some weight at some point, probably in the next couple of days, I would imagine. But taking it one step further from there, we can go over here and we can, of course, reference our daily stochastic momentum oscillator, which on CME, which is closed for the weekend, obviously, is going to continue with upside momentum as long as CME is closing above 56,300. So when Monday rolls around, Bitcoin's still around there, you will see this flip back on up, and it'll also confirm regular bullish divergence on the daily stochastic oscillator. So you have the RSI, you have the stochastic oscillator, and you'd also have just momentum heading back up, at least for a bit more on this mean reversion play. Now, as far as targets go for this bounce, we've already hit the first one that we overlaid in yesterday's video. That was right around about 57,000 and change. In fact, 57,500. You can see that actually was pretty much the high of yesterday. So from there, what's the next level of interest to the upside? Well, we got the 50% level right around 58,750 or 58,500. Somewhere in that pocket right there is probably right. But as you can see on this chart right here, the main focus that I want to be having on this video is that, look, this is all hopium that we just spoke about, admittedly. As long as Bitcoin is especially below $60,000 on a daily timeframe closing basis, no timeframe, no lower timeframe than that. So in this, we can also see that the 618 is actually aligning pretty much exactly at $60,000 if we look at the high of the last failed bounce to the low of the current move as relevant, which I do believe that it is. So in the interim, in the short term, if you are bullish, you would be looking for Bitcoin over this next, probably week period to pop back up here, close back above $60,000 for, a relatively quick and painless move and continue on in this range, trading sideways and slightly up with again, this long-term broadening wedge as potential formation here, which would actually have an implied target all the way at about almost $93,000, which is in alignment with one of these Fibonacci extensions here as well. But again, I do believe that it's more likely to be hopium as of right now. I do think that the bounce will likely carry on a little bit more again, but I don't think that this is the bounce that takes things back onto new highs. Just kind of looking at the overall market. From like a top-down view over these past few months, Bitcoin spent 4 months? Let me just double check on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, working on month number 5, but 4 months basically consolidating at the highs, and we just had a resolution as of last week. In my experience, you're probably not going to see a 4-month-long consolidation resolved in literally just 1 week, off of what, mostly was a painless move for Bitcoin. For altcoins, obviously, it's been absolutely fucking just disastrous. But hey, that's not my problem. In this case right here, I highly doubt that that's what's happening. But hey, it is, it is possible. And to actually strengthen that case, there is one more major point of hopium here for the quarterly chart, keeping in mind that the quarterly chart does not close until literally end of September / early beginning of October. But the quarterly has caught wind of that red moving average. It's just a 5 exponential here. And it's kind of the same interpretation on the quarterly as it is the monthly. When Bitcoin's above it, generally good. When Bitcoin's below it, generally bad. On a closing basis, that is. And we can actually see that Bitcoin has actually played out perfectly to that throughout its full history. So anytime that we've seen a closure below, well, get ready for an actual reversal. On top of that, we've actually never seen 2 negative quarterlies in a row during a bull market ever in Bitcoin's history. And keeping in mind that the last quarterly actually was negative, well, we'd expect this one to be positive if Bitcoin is indeed bullish, on the longer term scale here. So in order to turn this quarterly into a positive quarterly rather than what it is right now as a negative one, you need to actually pop back up above and close at least 1 cent above the open, which is 62,700 and change. So if Bitcoin basically isn't back above that number by end of September, well, I don't fucking need to say it. I think that we'd be in for a much more prolonged consolidation during this next phase of the market cycle. And I'd start to really look at this current price action as kind of similar to, although I never want to say exactly the same, because it certainly is not exactly the same. I just don't think, I've never seen a fractal work out in that way, but similar to 2019, where, you have this retest of your prior all-time high, comes back down. I don't think that, it's not that I don't think that we're going to get a black swan, but, if you kind of smoothen out the black swan that happened in March 2020 with the Rona dump, it did just reset right around that moving average and then buoyed back up for the rest of the cycle as Bitcoin goes all the way from 6,000 to more than 60,000. So in this case, I'd look at this as still relevant. Of course, on the monthly, we do see that Bitcoin is in danger of closing below, but it is still very much early in the month. And guess where the current 5 exponential moving average is on the monthly? Basically $60,000. Just it's about $500 below that. It is monthly. This is. That's rather like a small distance on a higher term time frame like this. It's technically 59,500 and change. So, if Bitcoin can pop back above there, especially early in this month and hold it into the end of this month, okay, that would look really, really good for me. To say that, hey, I'm wrong about Bitcoin going, likely lower, and we should, it might not necessarily go up exactly to the moon, on the next closure, but I would be looking for this one to continue its sideways and upwards trudge. But for now, it does seem to me like this is mostly hopium here. I don't want to go over the full case right now for the downside, just because I think that deserves its own video, which I think I'll do tomorrow. I think that would be a good day for that. But for right now, that's what I need to see in order for me to say that, hey, this breakdown is done and over with. And, do you want to call this fake out? Not really a fake out, but it is ready to trade sideways and up yet again. So $60,000 is a big level. As long as Bitcoin's below there, generally bearish. All bounces are just that, bounce before going lower. And we would really expect that if Bitcoin is going to go lower, probably happens with this next week or two, based off the 5-day setup that we have been looking at for this past week and a half now, or past couple weeks actually, because that does have an average time to play out of about 35 days, and we're almost at day number 30 now. So it'd be basically like end of next week is where we expect the majority of that move to be done. So it's possible, just as of right now, it's a game of time and timing, and it's just have to kind of err on that side, at least for myself. Anyways, I just want to make sure that I hit all of my notes over here. Yes, we got our hopium for the quarterly. We got that. One last piece of hopium before we leave. Dixie, the dollar index. I think it's very difficult. I think it's very difficult to analyze Dixie. At least I don't think I'm very good at it. But it does seem to actually be putting in, a local high here and probably getting ready for the next move lower. When we look at the weekly, very clearly, and obviously rejection on a lower high. So this does actually have the potential to reverse. We just want to see below, what was this, June lows, which is basically like 104 even. Does that help out Bitcoin? Generally will help out most risk assets, of course. It's certainly helping out traditional markets, which closed on new all-time highs yet fucking again. and again, another sort of indication that, long term, it does make it difficult to get like really bearish. I don't think is to be very clear. I don't think Bitcoin's going into a bear market or anything like that. I think just maybe like a macro consolidation. But hey, traditional markets continue to march up to new all-time highs. It's just difficult to be bearish, like heavily bearish on really anything when something like this is going on. So does Bitcoin get pulled up later on in this year or perhaps early next year as a bit of a laggard? Probably yes. We have seen in the past before where traditional markets break out to new all-time highs and Bitcoin follows later on, sometimes, much later on. But yeah, as long as this is continuing upwards and onwards with its long-term uptrend, I don't think it's wise to get like, I want to differentiate myself between like the people who are looking for maybe a further move to the downside and the people who are literally looking for like a full on fucking bear market for now, like Bitcoin back down to $30,000 or $20,000. That's not my main proposition here. So yeah. Okay. We hit that. That's it for Hopium Saturday. I'll leave you on that note. Tomorrow we'll update on probably the more long-term view and how it's kind of evolved with this past week of price action. And yeah, it's a good place for me to be leaving off. As always, I want to wish you the best of best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.